everybody. We are on page 19 today, and we are talking about the distributive property. Let's see. So just as we talked about yesterday, that properties are how things behave or characteristics, this is the distributive property, and we're going to have 2 days on this. So today we're only going to be writing on the left side. This is part 1. And good news, you get to use your picture of Santa. Hang on to the Grinch, the day is coming soon. On my glue stick. All right, so why is Santa the picture of the distributive property? Because Santa distributes gifts. He is a gift distributor. Is that an OR or an ER? I think it's an ER. Okay, so to distribute means to give or spread out evenly. And evenly, I mean like equally. So this is technically the distributive property of multiplication because we do this with multiplication. So let's say I have 10 times 1 plus 1. If I am going to multiply this without adding first, if I wanted to rewrite this, I have to do 10 times 1 plus 10 times 1, and that will give me my answer. So I know you're like, Mom, it's funky, I have no idea what you're talking about. Hold still. Okay, so if we start with 10 times 1 plus 1, the normal way we would do this is we would do 10, whoops, that's a times, 10 times 2, and then we would say 10 times 2 is 20. Let's pretend for a moment that the 1 plus 1 is something we can't solve. Like, let's say there was a letter in there, and we needed to kind of break it up. What we could do is say, well, I can do 10 times 1 plus 10 times 1. 10 times 1 is 10 plus 10 times 1 is 10 equals 20. In other words, in order to get the same answer, we either have to, okay, so I'm going to change colors here. If we don't add or subtract, because that might be what's in the parentheses, right away, we must distribute the multiplying. Now, I would venture to guess that a lot of you learned the distributive property before you knew what you were doing. So you might have learned how to solve a question like, 10 times We just did 10. I don't want to do that. Maybe you learned how to solve 8 times 36 by doing 8 times 30 plus 6. You knew you could do 8 times 30, and you knew how to do 8 times 6. 8 times 30 is 240 because it's 24 with a 0, plus 8 times 6 is 48. 240 plus 48 is 288. So I just did 8 times 36 in my head using the distributive property. Right here, this going from this to this, that is the distributive property at work. Here it is. If you came to the zoo to see the distributive property, this is what you'd want to see. Let's do one more example. Perhaps the number is 5 times 3.8. That might seem difficult to do. We're going to change it to 5 times, and this is where I'm breaking up this number. I'm making an addition expression that equals that number. Then, here comes the distributive property. I'm doing 5 times 3 plus 5 times 0.8 or 8 tenths. Now I know that 5 times 3 is 15. And 5 times 8 tenths, well, 5 times 8 would be 40. I move the decimal back one spot, I get 4.0. 15 plus 4 is 19. So I just did 5 times 3.8 in my head using the distributive property. And this is our first page on that work.